Well, I think I can agree with one thing that this member said, and that is that historians will look back on this pivotal moment in time in this chamber, and I imagine some that teach history, political history, will reflect on the fact that by some twisted logic, the Conservative Party that touts itself to be the party of law and order somehow throughout this entire siege of Ottawa and the aftermath of it sided with those who broke the law. Can this member please shed some light on this, to this House, on how it is that the party of law and order, the party of Brian Mulroney and Flora MacDonald, who brought this legislature into this House, somehow are siding and standing shoulder to shoulder with they're standing shoulder to shoulder with the occupiers, just not physically in the last few days.
Honourable Member for Lambton, Kent, Middlesex.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when we look in history books, when somebody is standing up for freedom for Canadians in the history books, we will never be on the wrong side of history standing up for the freedom of Canadians.
Hear, hear.
And I would encourage the member opposite to stop the divisive rhetoric that I hear constantly day in and day out here and actually show some leadership and be encouraging and try and give Canadians hope, which is what Conservatives are doing every day in this place, and we will continue to do so.
Hear, hear.
L'honorable député de Laurentides-Laval.
The honourable member for Laurentides-Laval. Thank you, Madam Speaker. First of all, I'd like to thank my colleague. She mentioned that we're in a crisis of confidence, and in connection with the We Charity scandal, one of the first things I said, how can people trust this government? So now steps are being taken. They seem to be disproportionate and unreasonable. And when people get to understand what has happened in recent days, when people do see that this order may not come to an end as soon as they claim, and so the international community may have the impression that they've been speculating that the NDP could change their position. What does my colleague think of that?
I'd like to thank the honourable member for her question. Speaker, invoking this act, let's be clear, is an attack that the Prime Minister is using on his political opponents. This is not about public safety. This is the Prime Minister who has changed his story many times. And the blockades at the borders were resolved before this act was involved. And the protest is over here now in Ottawa. So why does the government need to use these unprecedented powers? Why does the NDP want to side with the Liberals and be on the wrong side of history when it comes to this vote on Monday night? I'd ask them that.
Good question.
A member for Winnipeg Centre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to thank my honourable colleague. And I'm not talking about all the people that have been involved, but all movements, as we know, have leaders. And I've heard members of the official opposition minimize what's currently going on as peaceful and reflective of regular Canadians. So I want to ask my colleague if she thinks these beliefs coming from the leaders are peaceful and non-misogynistic and really are reflective of freedom. The first one, Canada is ill and is suffering from the stench of cultural relativism and Islamism. That's BJ Deacher. Or Pat King, Trudeau, someone is going to make you catch a bullet one day. For the rest of the effing government, somebody is going to...
Can I remind the honourable member not to use names, please?
Quotes. Sorry, it was in quotes, Madam Speaker. Or Pat King, Trudeau, somebody in quotes...
the honourable member can replace the name by the title of the...
Pat King, in quotes, the Prime Minister, somebody is going to make you catch a bullet one day. For the rest of the effing government, somebody is going to do you in, you sons of bitches.
A reminder, again, I know it's a quote, but of parliamentary language, the honourable member for Lambton, Kent, Middlesex.
What does she do? She's got her chance.
can we agree that on parliamentary language, it was an issue last evening, and we agree that we would not use it even in quotes, so I would recommend that we stop using those words, and I would like to give the honourable member for Lambton Kent Middlesex a chance to end.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank my colleague for her question. This is just more inflammatory rhetoric from the NDP. The NDP, why would they support this, Madam Speaker? They were founded on the principle of civil liberties, and the Association of Civil Liberties of Canada is actually suing the government right now, and this is unprecedented. And I'd like to say I did spend time talking with my own constituents whom I met up here on the first weekend that the protest started in Ottawa. I didn't see any of these things. What I saw was patriotic, flag-waving Canadians who had more joy than I have ever seen before. People were hugging in the streets. It was like a Canada Day times 1,000, bigger than any Canada Day I've ever seen in this country. And I will always be proud to represent Canadians and constituents in my riding who are patriotic and who are free to speak and assemble peacefully. Thank you.
Resuming debate.